YOLO. Ain't worried about no FOMO. Coin market cap out the crash on my lap when the bitch bounce back like a pogo. No fiat dough, I got Divvy coin, I got Bitcoin, I got Ether. What y'all know about a pump and dump? John McAfee.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 4 of R2 Satoshis. It's me and Justin here on this rainy Monday on the East Coast. So normally Justin kicks it off and asks me how my weekend's going and how it was. I don't know if you remember, but last weekend I was very hungover on boxed wine. Justin's had a very eventful weekend. Justin, want to kick it off?
Yeah. This last week has been the most exhausting week of my life. I don't, if you guys, if you guys listened to the podcast last week, my wife was about to go into labor and, it happened. And, we were at the hospital for a better part of the beginning of last week, and now we're home, and we're first-time parents, so it's been crazy.
I can't imagine. Like I was telling you earlier, I got my hands full with the cats, man. I got a baby gate up right now because I can't stand when they jump on me. Like, I'm trying to work.
Just imagine the feeling. Imagine the feeling of you reading charts all night and getting 2 hours of sleep, and you know how you feel when you wake up the next morning. That's like 1/10 of what this feels like. It's ridiculous, but I could not be happier. It's the coolest thing I've ever done in my life. So this is better than going on a moonshot run with Bitcoin.
So every day you're going to the moon.
Exactly. It's awesome. But enough of that. How's your past week been, Billy? What's been going on in your life?
Pretty low key, man. Not too much, to be honest. Just kind of chilling, watching the markets recover. The S&P's down, the Dow's down, crypto's up.
Yeah, that's actually something that we were going to talk about later on this podcast, but I mean, hell, might as well talk about it now. My little theory that I came out with last week, when you look at, the Dow dropping 1,000 points, it was down 1,000 one day, up like 500 the next, and down 1,000 again. Mm-hmm. And you look at those charts, and people didn't believe me on this in our little group chat, but you put the charts for side by side, and man, over the last year, look at the 1 year charts of the entire crypto market and the 1 year charts of the Dow, and put those up next to each other, and you will see that it looks like there's a correlation between them.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Well, it's interesting now though too, because now we're starting to see that divergence. Mm-hmm. It's like crypto's looking like a safe haven now, so we'll see how it plays out. There were some very encouraging comments from the St. Louis Fed recently, so that's, I'm sure, part of it.
Oh yeah, you were telling me about this. Didn't they say they came out and essentially legitimized what crypto is doing, right? A Fed, right?
Yeah. So the St. Louis Fed actually published a paper recently titled "A Short Introduction to the World of Cryptocurrencies." And essentially what they said was, I'll read you a short quote that kind of gives you the top level feeling about it. So as an asset, however, Bitcoin and alternative blockchain-based tokens should not be neglected. The innovation makes it possible to represent digital property without the need for a central authority. That's crazy.
Yeah.
This can lead to the creation of a new asset class that can mature into a valuable portfolio diversification instrument. End quote.
That's hard to even respond to, because it's like, here they are saying that this could, do away with parts of their business, or, their entire business model, how they survive.
Yeah, it's like, we recognize this thing's going to eat our lunch, and we're okay with it.
Yeah.
It's
on the flip side, I mean, I really respect it, because you could have people like Jamie Dimon that don't believe in it, from J.P. Morgan, when in all actuality the truth is what the St. Louis Fed said was going to happen is most likely what is going to happen. So at least they're being they're not beating around the bush and not trying to throw shade on it.
Oh, I mean, I'm sure Jamie Dimon actually does believe it's going to happen, but he has to say what he has to say given his position.
Yeah.
He's a banker, man. He's scared.
Well, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Pulled up that article too. It was. Well, I mean, it's all over the place, but I'm looking at it on Cointelegraph here. That's cool. So that was some cool news that happened over the last week. Another big thing that, people are going to laugh at me that are listening to the podcast probably if you've invested in crypto for a long time, but I had never, up until the last week, owned a single Litecoin. Never. And this past week, I don't know if you all saw the news, but part of the foundation has come out with, they're essentially releasing Litepay this month. So this was talked about a few months ago, but and it's been in the works for a long time. But in February, they're opening up to public signups. So have you looked into Litepay yet, Billy? Do you know have you seen all the details on it? So it's super exciting to me.
Yeah, so I mean, I've seen like some headlines, but to be honest, I haven't actually gone in and read much about it. So hopefully you can enlighten me and our audience if we have one.
Well, I just did a little perusing around. I mean, I don't have all the details, all the ins and outs of it or anything like that. But, initially the way that it was presented to me was this is they're setting up a network so that businesses in Europe and other countries can accept Litecoin directly. Retailers, whatever. So that was the main thing that excited me. They're bringing this to the forefront because I've always said, Bitcoin could potentially be the gold. Something like Litecoin could potentially be the currency we use. And since it mirrors kind of the Bitcoin network so much. But here's the key point that really excited me when I looked around at it. It's not just retailers accepting them, being able to accept Litecoin easily, and there's no volatility either because it immediately converts if they wanted to. But you also have the ability to get a card from them, like a debit card that you can use at any retailer that accepts debit or credit cards. So they're given the opportunity for the retailers to accept Litecoin, and they're also given the opportunity for the consumers to use it as a service like that.
Yeah, no, that's really exciting. Looks like, I mean, because we've talked about this before, but, it didn't really seem like, at least in my mind, that there was a roadmap necessarily for Litecoin. I knew they were making a lot of advancements on the atomic swap front and stuff like that. But I didn't really know where they were headed. What was their ultimate, final result?
Well, it's not as easy. It's not as easy to look at. If you look at something like, Ripple as an example. I mean, Ripple has a company behind it, or Ethereum, which has the Ethereum Alliance and everything like that. So it's harder to gauge.
It's true.
So that's really cool. And Litecoin, I bought some Litecoin myself. I'm gonna store that and hold that. I think it definitely has some potential there. Kind of along those lines, touching on two of the articles that popped up on our site this week. I wrote about Edgeless recently, and you guys, if you guys have listened to our podcast before, you know that we're big fans of Funfair and some of the other coins that are going after the gambling tech. But there's no reason that we can't be fans of something like Edgeless as well. Did you take a look at my article, Billy? Did you read it, or I just threw it up there? And I know you've been super busy over the last couple of days. Yeah,
I gave it a quick browse. I'm very interested to see how it plays out because they're doing something different than Funfair. They're actually the first legal blockchain casino versus what Funfair is trying to do, which is basically create the underlying tech for these various casinos to essentially white label.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that's going to be really fun to watch. But they have a first mover advantage though.
I want to touch on that one point there. Well, actually 2 points that you made there that One is, yes, they are the first legal blockchain casino. So in, just looking at my article here, you can see, and I'll link below, on December 22nd, 2017, they received their Curacao casino license. So that made them the first legal casino. Now, what Edgeless is doing is is creating the tech behind the casino, a fair casino. There's literally no way to cheat because it's based on smart contracts, whether that's the house or the player. But they're going to be running a casino. They've got blackjack up right now. They're going to be moving into to dice, poker, sports betting and stuff. But they're going to be running the casino. So they're going to be the single storefront for that. There may be some offshoots that they do or whatever. But Funfair, on the flip side, they're doing it a little bit differently, where they're building the tech. They don't need a casino operator license like that. But they're going to then license their software to other people and businesses that want to run casinos, and those people have to get the casino operator's license and stuff. So they're going after somewhat of the same market, but they're going at it in different directions where, they could both be successful,
Mm-hmm. It's wide open. It's a huge market right now.
Yeah.
There's enough room for both.
Well, it's 2017, or 2016, it was $45 billion online gambling industry. $45 billion, and it's been moving up 10% on average every single year. And I think also in 2016, going by what I wrote in my article, there was $890 million in Bitcoin gambled in 2016. So the crypto market is growing as well in the gambling sector. So I think it's a huge win. And right now, we mention this on every podcast. We're not financial advisors, but right now, Edgeless is trading at it's got under $100 million market cap right now. It's right for the picking.
Yeah, it's tiny.
Yeah, totally tiny. And I want to give a big shout out to the team over there at Edgeless as well. We posted our article and tweeted it out, and they retweeted it for us today. So that was awesome. So big shout out to them. Do you have any do you have any Edgeless yet, Billy?
You know what? I don't think I do. I wanted to go back to and talk about. So I actually don't have any Litecoin either. That's like a total D-bag saying that. I need to make a note of that right now. Action item.
Well, I went through my diversification last week, and I got back into diversified into more coins, and that's when I picked up those positions. So, hey, there's always time, and now I think we're hopefully the market is ready for a bull market. So
it's looking that way. We're holding pretty strong at these levels. So I think in another month or so we'll probably have a nice climb up.
Yep. The other thing that Forbes released over the past week or two that we wrote about on our site, basically we just kind of outlined some of the points, was the Forbes cryptocurrency rich list. So any names on the list there? We've got the top 19 on there. Any names on that list kind of stand out to you, Billy, or kind of all what you expected? You've got Vitalik in there at 17, net worth 400 to 500 million. I was actually surprised. I didn't realize that Brad Garlinghouse from Ripple, that he was number 15. He's worth about 400 to 500 million. Of course, Novogratz is on there.
For me, I'm wondering if they actually got permission from these people to say they're going to publish their net worth.
Yeah,
I assume they did, but
according to them and Forbes and everything, it was these are estimates, so it's not like this is an exact science or anything. Look at the Ripple co-founder, Chris Larsen. $7.5 to $8 billion is what he's worth. I don't understand that, though. It was claimed this year that the Winklevoss twins were the first crypto billionaires, but is that just Bitcoin? Is that why they're number 4 on the list and not above these others?
I don't know. Probably, because I imagine like Brock Pierce. Like he's been in the game for a long time. Like
From the Mighty Ducks.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's been in the game before Bitcoin was a thing. So I imagine he got in on day one. So I don't know. It's a good question.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everybody's getting in. We didn't even talk about this before the podcast, this preparation, but you run our Twitter and you tweeted out today about the U.S. bobsled or luge team is now accepting. Did you read that? Did you tweet that out? No, I must have saw that on another Twitter account.
Yeah, I don't think I tweeted that. I think I saw the headline.
Yeah, the U.S. luge team is accepting Bitcoin for donations now because one of the 1980s lugers, he's now in finance and stuff, and the luge team is really underfunded, so they see that as like a future way of donations. And what they're doing is they're accepting them now, but they're not spending any of them until 2020, for like 3 years. Now, in the video, they only mentioned they only got like 0.7 Bitcoin in there now, but he's like, we're just going to keep accepting these donations and just let it sit here for the next 3 years.
Ends up being like $10 billion.
Yeah. They go to the Olympics and they got like fucking rockets on there.
Or they just buy the Olympics.
They just buy the track. Elon Musk is designing the sleds next time for them.
That actually reminds me. Remember a couple of years ago? I think it wasn't a Dogecoin that helped fundraise the Jamaican bobsled team.
Yeah, I think I was
Wasn't
around
that a thing?
with it. That's when I was like mining Doge or whatever. And
Exactly. Back in like 2014.
Oh, that's hilarious. It's hilarious. Oh, shit.
Cool runnings, baby.
Oh, man. It's funny, though, to think that, like, I don't know, LeBron James gets paid, like, $40 million a year, but yet, like, our Olympic luge team, like, has to have, like, rusted skates and stuff.
Exactly. Like,
they don't have enough money to afford WD-40 or something, you know?
Right?
Oh.
It doesn't make any sense.
No, not at all. We send them over there. We're supposed to be the richest country in the world, and we send them over there with, like, patches on their bags and jackets and shit.
It's like, what are we really doing here?
Oh, man. What do losers do in the off season anyway? Like, do they work? Do they like work at Home Depot?
I imagine they're working at like skating rinks. I don't know, sharpening blades.
I want to call this out. I support all of our Olympic athletes. Nothing against them.
Yeah, totally joking here, but I am curious.
I hope they win. I'll be watching them. I love watching curling. But, like, you know, I just think about that. Like, what do they do in the off season? Is it like Martha, the bus driver, and then like the one week out of every 4 years, they're like the best thing since sliced bread.
Exactly. I imagine they've got to be doing something related. You know, it's like, but that'd be cool to see, like a behind the scenes. You know. Yeah.
Really, Larry and Sally have marital problems just like everybody else.
Exactly.
Just because he has a silver medal at the Song Olympics. Anyway.
Yeah. I digress.
Go USA. Or whatever country that you are from out there. Keep listening to our podcast. So actually, that's a good segue. So we actually had created a segment this week with our one of our colleagues, JV, talking about smart contracts. So we're going to go ahead and segue to that segment now, and then come back and close out the podcast for this week. Here we go.
Cool. All right, guys, we got a special guest today. Got our boy JV on the line.
Hey, guys, what's up?
What's up, JV? So,
JV in the house.
Real quick, can you just kind of give everybody a quick spiel about your background? I mean, you're in the tech circle just like us.
Yeah.
Can you just kind of talk about, Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Started back in 2017. I live in the Boston, Somerville area. So when it comes to tech meetups in the East Coast, and with New York and Boston, they have a lot of technology meetups all the time. Blockchain meetups got really popular. And, I recall sometime last year talking with you guys about it. So it's something I decided to check out. And just over time, I started joining more meetups. And right now I'm part of the Bitcoin Club at MIT. So self-plug, we have an event in March.
Nice.
MIT, you're hobnobbing with all the smarty pants up there, JV?
Yeah, no, we have some fantastic people that give great presentations. Like, I think last week we were going over, it's not just a focus on Bitcoin itself. There's a lot of technologies that we talk about as well. Sometimes we have a roundtable discussion, and sometimes we have just guests coming in and talking about Hashgraph, for example. I think that was one of the conversations last week, as opposed to blockchain.
That's awesome. Is it mostly like students, or is it like, are there a lot of students? Because you're not a student there.
Yeah, no, I'm a fraud. Yeah, the cool thing about the club is there's a mixture. I would say like 50% students and 50% people who are, working professionals just interested in blockchain and crypto as well.
That's
so it's
awesome.
open for a lot of people.
Billy, we need to get to a big city like Boston and stay there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, shit. I'm in Richmond, so
yeah.
I guarantee there's a meetup or two. A lot of tattoos, I'm sure. But no hawks.
But I bet you it's not an MIT meetup. Be like a VCU theater meetup or something. Theater Bitcoin meetup. Oh shit.
Did you guys find one for DC?
Yeah, there's a bunch of in DC. We're actually planning on going up to one here in the near future, but my baby happening kind of threw us off with that.
Oh, right.
But JV, so we brought you on today. This is gonna be the only time that you're on, so it'd be good. Now, we brought you on today because you, a few weeks ago, you were talking to us about some of the issues with smart contracts.
Mm-hmm.
Can you kind of elaborate on some of those here?
Yeah, so with blockchain technology and smart contracts, they, go hand in hand pretty well. They correlate with each other. The issue with smart contracts is when people talk about self-executing protocols, what they fail to mention, for example, is, oh, hey, why don't we make a bet on who's going to win, a soccer game next week, or who's going to win a Super Bowl? The thing is, we can set up the amount that we can bet with each other, but after that, how do we get the data of who the winner is? And that's where the issue is that we need external data from sources such as, ESPN or Fox News Sports, wherever you want to get that API data from. And that's the thing with the Solidity contract, is where the smart contract is written in, is that it doesn't have the necessary infrastructure to call out for external data, whether it's not just, sources from ESPN, but if you want to take it more from a financial perspective, like, your bank account or Visa or PayPal, that's something that Solidity can't do by itself. So that's why we have these third service providers called oracles, and oracles are pretty much the ones that are bringing in the data into the smart contract, because the issue is, if you have, because we know that blockchain is decentralized, so we have 3,000, 10,000 nodes. I'm not sure how many nodes on the Ethereum network. They all have to pretty much validate that
they have to agree.
They have to agree. So
yeah.
If you do a get API call, that's thousands of API calls being called several times, and that's really not good. And at the same time, when you're writing an Ethereum contract or using Solidity, with a contract, it takes up a lot of gas. So you want to be efficient as possible so you don't consume too much gas. So that's where the Oracle steps in as well.
Well, so kind of break this down. There was another one that you put to it. Like I get, those aspects, but there was one other one that you used an example of, like a temperature, right? Like if a temperature reaches a certain degree or something.
Right. So that again, for example, I say, you know what, if the temperature is 55 degrees on Sunday, then I will go ahead and pay you, whatever amount. But the thing is, it has to deal with the nodes going through and verifying is the temperature at 55 degrees is the temperature at 55 degrees. Well, maybe for one node, it'll say the temperature is 56 degrees. And if one of the nodes disagree, then pretty much the contract that you have set up is no longer valid. That's why the Oracle, rather than getting data from external sources, the Oracle pushes data into the smart contract itself. And there's this, token called Link Chain. It's one of the oracles on the Ethereum network. And how they work is these Link tokens are held by these individual node operators. So when a smart contract requests data from the network, then every node in the network submits their data. And when you submit your data, it's pretty much being evaluated by the whole network. And in that sense, you're putting your token at stake. So if you provide bad data, then you lose the tokens that you placed in to validate that data. And if you do validate your data correctly, then you get a piece, like a small fee in some sense, as a reward.
I mean, it's funny to talk about all that. So it looks like they're trying to fix this, obviously. But you look at, like, I just wrote an article yesterday about Edgeless, which is the first Ethereum casino, a legal Ethereum casino. And one of the things that they're looking at doing, in I think it's Q4 of this year, is sports betting. And the whole casino is run on smart contracts. So would they have to use something like Link or whatever, to be able to solve that?
From my perspective, the answer would be yes. But to get more in detail about these oracles that you're making a request to, for example, how I mentioned you have to go to a URL. So sometimes when you're making these requests, they charge you somewhere between 1 cent to 5 cents, depending on what information you need to get. For example, if you want to get the score from a URL, it's probably a cent for a request. But if you want to do some heavy computation, such as, I want to calculate my interest rate for the next 20, 30 years, but I have, 2 family members, I don't know, like a crazy computation like that, where, it uses a lot of programming power on the Ethereum network, which takes up a lot of gas. So if that's the case, you can use an oracle and they'll charge you like a couple of more cents to do that computation.
That's awesome. Well, at least, there was a lot of information there in such a small segment. Is your head spinning there, Billy? I know you're
it's like
you're generally the UI graphics guy, and
like, like I totally get it. And it's like, man, goddamn encyclopedia over there.
I mean, and oracles can be used. We keep talking about how it's being used to get data from the outside world, but what about pushing data to the outside world? For example, we can use smart contracts to set up, my rent payment with the landlord. And for some reason, let's say they gave me an electronic key. If I don't pay my rent on time, then that key gets disabled. Well, if that key needs to get disabled, then it needs an API to push data out to tell that smart lock or whatever to not accept my, electronic key when I try to get in.
With the smart contracts, there's difficulties with doing that now because of the way that.
Oh yeah?
No, I'm asking you. No, I mean that's more like a question. Like what you're saying there is because we talked about bringing data in on one side, but actually pushing data out. I mean, there's difficulties with there. So how is that being solved? Is that being solved with like is Link and Oracle's doing the same thing, or is there something else that does that?
Yep, Oracleize It is one example that uses pushing data out to external sources, and Link as well. There's another one called, it starts with an like AUG. I don't recall at the moment.
So Augur?
Augur? Yeah.
Gotcha. So
That's
is Link Chainlink?
Chainlink, yep. The website is smartcontracts.com. And from what I understand, when we talk about crypto and cross-border payments, we often hear Swift coming up in the conversation often. Link is also working with Swift on dealing with contract securities. I don't know the full extent with it, but that's something to check out as well.
That's awesome. And their website, smartcontract.com. Chainlink, if you look at on CoinMarketCap right now, Link, they're under a 200 or sub 200 million market cap, about 49 cents, and there's a circulating supply of 350 million. So, like I say all the time, we are talking about smart contracts and stuff, and we're not financial advisors, but I would definitely check that out because it looks like they're doing some pretty awesome stuff.
So these guys new?
No, they've been, JV?
Yeah, with the guys from Chainlink, they've been in the space, I believe, 2013, 2014. So since whenever Ethereum has been created, they've been around for quite some time. So they're not new. Definitely
2 weeks ago, it was $1.22 close. Now they're at 49 cents. I'm going to check that out. But that'll be, so JV, thank you for coming on for our smart contracts today. We'll have you on more. You did a good job.
Pleasure.
All right, and we're back. So that was really interesting. We do a lot of white paper deep dives, and we talk about a lot of projects, but rarely do we dive into like how does a smart contract actually work, like the nuts and the bolts.
Yeah, I had no idea about some of that stuff, and when he brought it up to us a couple of weeks ago in our little chat, and we started talking about it, it was like, holy shit, you think that some of this stuff, even that is baked out, but it's not baked out fully. There's so much work to be done behind it. So that was really cool. So normally around this time, we kind of talk about some of our picks for the week and whatnot, but kind of went over that a bit last week. So I brought up to Billy, one thing that I wanted to talk about is some kind of alternative ways to invest with some of these coins. And I don't mean like freaking BitConnect or anything like that. But what I mean is like, for instance, I hold Neo, and I have it in the Neon wallet. And by holding Neo in the Neon wallet, it can just sit there. And while it's sitting there, you generate gas, which is another token that you can then, trade or whatever that has a value just like any other coin. So, have you gotten into any of those? I know that you're more of, you're like holding most of your stuff in, I can't even think right now, the same wallet that I use.
Exodus.
Yeah. So you can't really stake in that, but have you ever done any staking?
Right. No, I haven't. I actually, so I was in Neo really heavy briefly. And yeah, it's one of those things I need to come back and circle around to and actually hold long term, because I got into it back when it was Ant Shares. And then they rebranded and all that jazz. Mm-hmm. So I haven't really done too much staking yet.
Well, I want to stay along the lines on the staking, but one thing actually to touch on Neo, just so that everyone's aware, it was just announced that the Ontology network is going to airdrop some of their tokens to all Neo holders. And this is, so I saw that and I was like, first of all, what the hell is the Ontology network? So basically it's like a trust system built on the blockchain with the ledger, and it fills kind of the trust gap. So one of the examples they give here is, when doctors and hospitals and patients register their identities on the blockchain fills in the trust gap between the pharmacy and the patient with the records of the medicine's key information and whatever. So it builds like this trust system. So that's one use case for it. But if you are a Neo holder, there will be an airdrop of the ONT token it's saying that the tokens it's going to consist of 20 million of them. The airdrop ratio will be 0.2 ONT per Neo that you hold. The part I don't understand here, maybe somebody can mention in the comments if you know this, but it says 50% of which are freely tradable and the other 50% are automatically locked. So I don't know what that lock means. Do you know what that means, really? Like, why does it lock some of the tokens?
Shit, hell if I know, man.
Well, just to close this one out, it's going to happen at, they say it's going to happen at block height 1974823, which is estimated to be on March 1st, 2018. So if you're holding NEO, or if you buy NEO right around that time frame, put it in something like the Neon wallet, and you will get airdrop this other token, which is great.
Free money.
Yeah, exactly. But staying along the lines of the staking there, we talked about this earlier, and I wrote the article about it, but Edgeless. So, and you and I talked a little bit about what they're looking forward to with possibly doing bankroll staking.
Right. Yeah, and I remember, and I want to say that Wager and even Syscoin, don't quote me, but I know that Syscoin is going to be doing master nodes as well. And you have to have a certain amount of tokens to even have the opportunity to be a master node. And you get essentially percentages of the fees that are taken on the blockchain, et cetera, et cetera. And I know you actually did more of a deep dive recently, so I'm not going to sit here and try and explain it when I know you know way more than I do.
Yeah, well,
kind of shed some light on what's going on.
Well, I mean, like Edgeless, for instance, they're looking at the example they gave, and I linked it in my article to their Medium post, is say they need, since they're going to be running the casino, say they need 100 million tokens for liquidity purposes. Mm-hmm. The Edgeless team and company would put up, let's say, like 60 million. And then the community investors could then stake the other 40 million that are needed. And you send it to like a staking contract for it to work. This is not fully baked out yet, but this is what they're looking at doing. And then let's say over the course of a week, if the casino made money, then that money, a portion of it, because I'm sure they're going to keep some of it, a portion of it is distributed out amongst the stakers. So it's just a cool way. I mean, obviously it's twofold for them. It's creating need for the token on the network, but it's also providing a use case scenario for it and giving you the ability to wanting people to hold it, essentially. So I don't know, but I've got Edgeless now. I have Neo. I've talked to you about this a little bit in the past, Billy, about just getting a bunch of these and just all these staking ones, just let them sit there for years. Don't even consider it doing anything like your normal trading with them.
Yeah, no, I think that's really smart, and I'm not doing it. So that's an action item for me in the very near future. I'm still kind of in that handful of positions, going really heavy in the short term, and slowly building out my long-term positions. But it's really smart to make that residual income.
Well, it's funny. I mean, people do these things like BitConnect and stuff with this 1% that they claim. I mean, BitConnect's going out now; it's done, but they claim to generate you 1% daily. I mean, you could probably put a portfolio together of these staking coins and generate that daily, or close to it. And it's like, but the problem is that it hasn't been fleshed out in the market and explained to people in a good enough way. Hey, maybe that's a business opportunity for somebody out there. Maybe that's a business opportunity for us. I don't know, but build this portfolio of staking coins, generate this daily automatically.
Exactly, and there's so much opportunity.
Because there are other ones like OK Cash. That was one a while ago I was messing around with. Staking. I
haven't heard too much about them.
No, they've kind of gone out. But that's kind of the staking take there. So instead of going with our normal picks, we wanted to just point out that maybe this coin isn't going to skyrocket in price per se, but maybe it's something that you can buy and hold to generate another token or more revenue from it by just sitting there. So there's not just, there's multiple different ways to make money in this market.
Yeah, I saw something about, going back to gas from Neo. And I kind of mentioned this earlier before we started recording, but I saw that this guy was talking about how if you would have bought like $10,000 worth of Neo back like last March, before we got into it, basically at its current levels today, you'd be making like $100,000 a month in gas. Like it was something ridiculous.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Insane. And we were in it then too, but we weren't, in.
Yeah, not heavy. We were just now, starting to get into it.
Yeah, that's crazy. What was that? You mentioned one before our podcast. What was that coin you saw the other day?
Oh yeah. So the other day, actually, it was more like last week. Little brother sent me a text like, "Holy eCoin," and I was like, "What the hell's an eCoin?" So I jumped into CoinMarketCap and typed it in. And one, I mean, to me, it doesn't look like much of anything. I mean, I haven't done about 5 minutes of research on it, but it looks like just a pump and dump. I mean, it went from like $6 to like 300 in a 2-day span, like a 4,000% jump.
And now
Like,
what is it trading at, like $70 or something?
Yeah, now it's down to like the high 60s. Yeah, 68. I mean, but I can't tell if it's just like if they're actually trying to be something or if they're just purposely just like a knockoff from Mr. Robot. That's where eCoin came from. Mr. Robot.
Well, while you were talking about that, I pulled up this one article real quick, and it says that it was the coin is widely believed to be fraudulent. The company behind eCoin, the Zurich-based Quid Pro Quo Association, was shut down by the Swiss Financial Market Supervisory Authority on the 19th of September in 2017. So yeah, like what's making it just skyrocket like this? Somebody just messing with the market?
You know it's bad when the Swiss are not cool.
Yeah, the Swiss.
You really got to be fraudulent.
Oh,
they don't give a shit. Like that's where we put our money, not us.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, we put ours in Bitcoin. Obama made the comment. President Obama made the comment. Everybody has a Swiss bank account in their pocket now with Bitcoin.
Exactly.
Yeah, that is hilarious. That's hilarious. One other thing, and then we want to shut it down. I saw today, this is actually pretty awesome. Arizona just passed a bill, and it went to their House now to pass it, where you can now, if it passes, you'll be able to pay your taxes with cryptocurrency.
That's crazy, especially Arizona.
Yeah.
Like, super conservative.
It was a Republican that passed through the bill, too.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's awesome, man. And that was cool. And then what was the other last thing that I saw? I haven't checked this out yet. I saw it right before we jumped on our podcast, but I want to check it out. Somebody posted a screenshot of Craigslist now. When you post an ad, you can check a box that says you'll accept cryptocurrency.
Oh, yeah, I think I saw something about that.
Yeah. It's just popping up all over the place. There's like so much news. I mean,
it's just like every 3 seconds.
I mean, in the past, like something with Craigslist wouldn't be huge, but when it's this, it's making it more mainstream. It is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah, it's badass.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Well, anything to close this out? Anything we got upcoming this week at CryptoFizz, Billy? Are you looking at any coins? Anything you want to write about?
Man, I'm still. So I'm still watching Syscoin. I know that's they're going to be launching their public products. I want to say the end of February. So I'm still watching that like a hawk, pretty heavy in that. Moving forward, I want to say one of our colleagues might be writing about OX. I don't know if you know too much about them. I've seen it around. Mm-hmm. I know it was really popular a few months ago, but it's going to be fun to check into. So,
well, we can finally get away from our gambling coins.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been doing that over the last 2 or 3 weeks with Wager, My Odds, Funfair,
pretty much got it covered.
Yeah, we've got UKG. We've covered pretty much all of that. So this week we'll start moving into maybe something like the decentralized exchanges and stuff like Syscoin and D Corp that we wrote about in the past. Seeing what they're doing and stuff. So I don't know. We'll be doing some cool stuff.
Yeah, I actually, you know what? I just remembered. So I recently came across, and it might have been from JV. He actually sent me a link to blockchain insurance. So basically, it's like an insurance plan for your holdings. So if you lose your ass, then you're going to get some of it back. So I haven't done a deep dive yet, but that's really intriguing. So I'm gonna investigate that, see what's going on there.
Yeah, let's talk about it next week. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, everybody, thanks for checking out our podcast this week. You can check out our next one. We usually do them every Monday, and we may start throwing in some new podcasts. We talked about this a little bit before, but some like one-off podcasts here throughout the week, 10 minutes here and there, just talking about various other things. Because, shit, as quick as the news moves in this market, kind of need something more than every single week. Yeah. But thanks for checking us out, guys. I'll let Billy close the show out today, just like he started the show.
Right on. Yeah, guys. Thanks for checking us out. For everybody that's out there listening, congratulations again, Justin, on little Fiona.
Thank you.
And look forward to the next episode. Have a good one, guys.
Later.
She don't know I got a master no. Even my son told me about the dip, ain't talking about what you put on potato chips. Even my son told me about the dip, ain't talking about what you put on potato chips. I buy the dip, dipping. I buy the dip, dipping. I buy the dip, dipping.